Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome back to the Damn Podcast. We're looking a little different today as we have sent our former leader, Carter Baines, off into the great big world of 24/7 sports. Carter has been hired by the national desk, so he is no longer full-time at Beaver Blitz, but we are really excited to bring in Jake Hedberg, who joined us at the beginning of spring camp and has been doing an amazing job for us at Beaver Blitz. So Jake is my new partner in crime on this damn podcast. Jake, how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you so much. Really appreciate this great opportunity. I'm super excited to get started.
So Jake, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself? I mean, you're a student at Oregon State. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm currently a sophomore in college. I went to Westland. I played football and basketball and baseball growing up. So I've got that three sports knowledge. I've been a season ticket holder my whole life. So I'm super excited to really start to make my own impact.
Jake, it's been pretty. We are just like throwing you in the deep end. Like there's it's go time. I mean, he met me at the very first spring camp back in March. Had the entire roster memorized. He was helping me with the names and some of the number changes, and has been doing an amazing job already. You're into recruiting as well, so you've been reaching out to recruits.
Mhm.
We've thrown you into doing some radio interviews. I just got back from a friend's birthday, so I was out of country, and I texted Jake. I said, I just landed in Mexico. Can you go on with John Canzano? And can you go on with Sirius XM Pac-12 radio? And he did it. So we are just, there's no learning curve here, Jake. It's just like go time.
Jumping right into it.
So we're going to talk today a little bit about spring camp. And Jake was at all the camps that we were available to be at. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat and we will try to get to them. We're going to do a little rundown of all of that, what stood out to us, and really deep dive into this, Jake. And then we'll talk a little baseball, not a lot, but then we're going to play Guess That Beef. And that was a game that Carter brought up. So you're going to have yes and no questions. I try to guess the beaver that I'm thinking of that I have written down on my paper over here. Are we ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, so let's just jump in with the spring game, the spring showcase. That was Saturday. What are your biggest takeaways from just that game?
Yeah, I would say my biggest takeaway is the defensive line is legit. I mean, the pressure that they applied throughout the entire spring game was really good. Even though the offensive line didn't have Jake Levengood or Josh Gray, I think Henley Bloomfield went. Harco Brewer did not, but the defensive line, didn't have James Rawls, but everyone got in to the backfield and really impressed me. Takari Hickel had a few sacks. He's really impressed this spring. I think he's earned some time for sure. The Wyoming transfer, Oluwisio Matoshu, he had a few sacks as well. Super excited about him. Hodgins played phenomenal. Super excited about that. Thomas Collins, a true freshman, he had some great plays. So I was really impressed with the defensive line and really the defense as a whole. Losing guys like Spades, Rajon, Jaden Grant, you would think there may be some fall off, but I think this defense could potentially be just as good.
Really? Okay, so that's for those that have been listening for a while. My biggest takeaway has been just that need for a pass rush and kind of strengthen up that O-line or D-line. Talk a little bit about Hodgins because, he was he's battled injury. He's been kind of MIA for a while. Does he look like he has his burst back?
Yeah, I thought on Saturday he made a few nice plays that caught high. There was one in specific. He caught a running back. I think it was Jam Griffin, and it was a really impressive play. He may not start just because of James Rawls has got a spot. Sione Lilahea has a spot. And I think he's currently competing with Joe Golden for the third starting spot. But even if he doesn't come out starting, I think he's definitely going to play a lot and see a lot of time. So I'm super excited about that.
And talk to me a little bit about Takari Hickle, because that was a name, you mentioned it was in your write-up from the game. I know the coaches were really high on him. He was kind of a project out of high school, but they loved his length. I mean, do you see him being someone that maybe could get into the backfield and just, with his length and size?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Takari Hickle was probably the best pass rusher we had in camp. He wasn't super highly recruited kid. He was a 3-star from Tenino, Washington. I believe Oregon State was his only Power 5 scholarship offer. But he spent a year in the weight room. I think he put on 10 pounds about, and he really flashed. Even if it was going up against guys like Tali Fuaga or Josh Gray, he was still able to get into the backfield and apply pressure. So I think he has definitely worked his way into the defensive line rotation as a pass rush guy.
So, and you talked about offensive line. I mean, they were down. I mean, it was basically the second team was pretty much the starters. Do you think any of that was that part of why the defensive line looks so good? Or do you think that they are actually going to take that next step and be solid against even the first team?
I think it had a little bit to do with it. I mean, always if you're missing three all Pac-12 guys, I believe, in Brewer, Levengood, and Gray, there's going to be some kind of fall off. But I do think this defensive line's legit. They've impressed all camp. Even when Gray was healthy, Levengood was full go, they were still applying pressure and really holding their own against what is arguably one of the best offensive lines, not only in the Pac-12, but in the country.
Yeah. I agree with you. I was not at the spring game, but I did catch some of it. How about quarterbacks? We're going to talk more about the quarterbacks, but I just want to focus on the quarterback play during the spring showcase. Who stood out to you? I think Ben and DJ took first team reps. I know there's been a huge discussion about Aiden Childs, and we'll dive into that a little more too, but who stood out to you just at that spring showcase?
I mean, Childs was honestly the most impressive quarterback. I think he had the best throw of the day. He had about a 20-yard touchdown off his back foot to Silas Bolden, who made a fantastic catch. And he was really able to move the ball the most consistently out of the three of them. DJ was able to move the ball relatively well. He had a bad pick to Joe Swen. But besides that, he had a pretty good day. Gulbranson was solid as well. I really don't think any quarterback took a step in separating themselves. So that was a little disappointing to see. But overall, it was a good day.
So right now, you've been working on depth chart predictions, and we'll have those up at Beaver Blitz starting tomorrow with the offense and then the defense. There was a note here. It's in the Lodge. Carter Baines actually put it in the Lodge for us. I'm going to pop it in here, though. Rumors are Chance Nolan is heading to TCU. What are your thoughts on that? I'm throwing a curveball at you, but do you think that's a good spot for him?
Yeah, Chance just committed officially about half an hour ago.
Oh, okay, he did. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a good spot for him. TCU's got Chandler Morris coming back, who started over Max Dugan. So I don't think Chance will start there, but I think it's a solid spot for him to end up as a backup. I mean, realistically, if Chance decided to stay, I think he would have been the third or fourth option on this team. So I think he's just doing what's best for him, and that's a spot at a top 25 team, and he could potentially see time if Chandler goes down.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good
great program for him. Offense kind of fits his skill set, but you're right. I mean, he wasn't going to see time at Oregon State.
And Sonny Dykes as well as a great coach.
Exactly.
So if anyone could get the best, it's probably Dykes.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, just that offense that they run is really fits his skill set. Okay, so you guys, just listeners, just know, be checking back with Blitz starting tomorrow, because we will have a full breakdown of kind of Jake's thoughts about depth chart heading into the summer. But now I want to go back and let's really do a deep dive into spring camp and what we saw. And we're going to start with the offense. Positions of strength. I'm guessing offensive line, but what do you think from your view? And we didn't see all the spring camp, but we saw enough to kind of get a good idea. What is your thoughts on the positions of strength for the offense heading into the summer?
I think once again, the strength of this team is going to be the running game. I mean, if you've got a stable as deep as 4 guys who I think can carry the load with Damian. Jam Griffin really impressed me. I think he's kind of separated himself as the second back. Deshaun Fenwick's back. He's a reliable, consistent guy. And then Isaiah Newell's proven he can carry the rock in clutch times. So I'm super excited about that. And plus, they're running behind a Coach Mahalchek offensive line, which is guaranteed to be satisfactory at the minimum. So yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Coach Mahalchek might be one of the most underrated offensive line coaches in the country.
I think he's the best.
I just think what he gets out of the guys he recruits, he knows exactly what he wants, and he gets the best out of them. So let's just go. Let's not mess around anymore. Let's talk quarterbacks, because you and I were there day one back in early March, and our player of the day was true freshman Aiden Childs. I mean, he connected with Zach Card on a 50-yard post route that was beautiful. I mean, I guess that's the best way to put it. Beautiful. Landed, caught him in stride. DJ struggled. I think day one he was overthrowing his receivers. Day two he was underthrowing them. Let's talk with DJ about DJ, just because he's kind of the everyone wants to talk about him. How much growth did you see in him from that first day in March to spring game?
Yeah, I definitely saw a significant amount of growth. Obviously, if you're coming over from a program that runs a different scheme, there's going to be some type of adjustment period, and that was noticeable the first 2-3 practices. But throughout practice, he started to impress. He started to get a little more comfortable running with guys and throwing to guys. It's always a big change, like knowing your personnel, that kind of thing. So I think it'll gradually get better throughout summer, especially as the players do their own thing, kind of bonding without the coaches. And then I think come fall camp, he'll be ready to go.
What do you think is his biggest strength?
I think his biggest strength is honestly the options he brings to an offense. I mean, no knock on Ben Gobranson, but he didn't run for 545 yards last year. And DJ's a guy that can run the ball. He can mix in that little RPO options to the offense, just add that extra element. So I'm super excited to see what the offensive staff does with that.
Yeah, and he's huge. I mean, it's funny because we talk about a guy listed at 6'4", 251. You're not thinking quarterback when you hear those numbers, but he carries it very well. Yeah, he carries it very well. He has a strong arm. Very strong arm. Yeah. He does move well. You know what else I was really impressed with, and we got to talk to him once during camp, but just his overall polish. You know, he's a very polished young man. He came over and introduced himself to the entire media, shook everyone's hand. And I think he's taken about this whole transfer in a very workmanlike way. And I think it's gone over well with the players and the coach and the staff. He's not come in and said, I'm a former 5-star and he's really kind of put his head down, kind of stayed low profile and just gone to work.
Yeah, I definitely think that was part of the reason why DJ decided to come to a school like Oregon State, just because the camera's not there, the flash, it's not all there. And at a school of Clemson's caliber, it's kind of, it's always like, oh, if DJ does anything wrong, everyone's talking about it. And whereas here, he can grind, not as much attention, just doing his own thing.
Okay, let's talk about Ben Gobranson, because here it's been a big topic of conversation in the lodge at Beaver Blitz. Have a quarterback that went 7-1 as the starter, although not getting a lot of respect. Do you think that's warranted? What are your thoughts there?
I thought Gobranson really held his own this spring. I mean, obviously, if you're returning, you win 7 games, and then a coaching staff brings in a 5-star transfer, and then a 4-star quarterback, you very well could have gone, oh, well, and then transfer. But, I mean, Gobranson's stuck. He's been practicing hard. He's been really just grinding, and he's been holding his own. I mean, there hasn't been a significant drop-off between DJ and Childs and Gobranson.
Yeah, so Ben's thrown some picks. Yeah. But early on especially, but I think part of that can be attributed to the defense just knowing his tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do you think Oregon State, that was one of their biggest detriments last year to the offense, was quarterback play?
In a way, I do believe that maybe if they have a quarterback of DJ's caliber, then that games against USC and Washington's are wins, and maybe you're sitting after the Civil War at 11-1 going into the Pac-12 championship. But I do think a quarterback of Gilbranson with his leadership qualities, I think the team wouldn't have rather had anyone else besides him.
Let's talk now, kind of the one that's gotten all the hype now since the spring showcase, Aiden Childs. Like I said, what he did he was our player of the day. He was our dude of the day at least twice, maybe 3 times during camp.
I think 3 times.
3 times. I mean, let's hear your thoughts on the young guy. I mean, he's 17. He will not even be 18 at the first game.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy for a kid that really could be a high school senior next fall to come in and not only hold his own, but really shine against against a great defense. He's really impressed. He's caught. I wasn't really sure what to expect from Childs coming in to his first spring ball, but since day one, I mean, he threw the best ball we saw all camp. Really on this, I was one of his first throws. I definitely think Oregon State's found their quarterback of the future. He's going to be one to watch. I'm super excited about him.
Yeah, I think I told. So last year, those that have listened to the damn podcast for a while know that after spring ball, I said, watch Damian Martinez, that he is going to be special. And Childs is my guy for this year. I have not seen a quarterback of this caliber. I want to even say since Matt Moore. And Matt Moore, when you watch Matt Moore in practice, it was apparent that he had some it quality about him. And Childs has that. I mean, we laugh at he plays loose. And part of that can be too, he's a freshman and kind of right now playing on the second, third team, but I mean, he kind of dances into the huddle. The guys all seem to like him. Would you like to see him add a little weight? That's been kind of a point of discussion.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little thin right now, and Childs likes to run, and for a running quarterback, you always want to see them build a little bit more like DJ. So I'm hoping a redshirt year, playing in 4 games. I'm hoping that'll maybe help him put on 10 to 15 pounds and get him up to that 210 range for 2024.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he is the quarterback of the future, and add a little weight to him. I was on with Dusty and Danny yesterday on Portland radio, and there was actually a really good comparison. I hadn't even thought of it, but they said reminded them a little bit of a young Dennis Dixon, the Oregon great.
I can see that.
I actually could see that too. So, okay, so we've talked about the offense and the running game being a strength. We've talked about some quarterbacks. Where's your area of concern for this offense?
Definitely the receiver room. I mean, Anthony Gould has proven. Silas Bold had a great spring and is really proven. But outside of that, it gets a little interesting. I'm expecting them to go after a receiver hard in the transfer portal. They offered the Colorado kid, Montana Lemonis Craig. Yesterday. So hopefully they can get Craig on campus to check it out. There's not a whole lot of experience. John Dunmore and Josiah Irish have both been in the program and played, but they haven't really statistically done a lot. Receiver was interesting during spring practice. It was tough for them to find consistency. Gould was a little banged up, so we didn't really go. And outside of Silas Bold, really the only other guy that had a really good spring was true freshman Zach Card, and he really impressed us. The one negative thing about Card is he is also like Silas and Gould, 5'8", 5'9". So they really desperately need a bigger body target.
Yeah, that's been a discussion too, because I think heading into camp, we were all excited to see other true freshmen, Taz Reddix and Montrell Hatton, who were both on campus as well. Both were a little banged up. We didn't see a lot of them. They were both, I think, ankle and foot injuries. We saw one of them in a boot. We didn't see much of them. John Dunmore didn't do a lot. I mean, I don't recall seeing his number called a ton. I agree with you. I think if anything, it opens the door for tight ends and maybe a Jermaine Terry to step into that role. Jack Velling, obviously, we didn't see him. He's nursing a shoulder surgery, off-season shoulder surgery. So I agree with you. I mean, that's same. We didn't really kind of go over this beforehand because I wanted to kind of see where you went with it. But I think receiver is a major point of question heading into this offseason. Yeah.
Right now, I would say it's the biggest spot on the biggest group in the roster that needs to be upgraded.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is I think you and I both had kind of Taz and Montrell as we knew a
Yeah.
freshman would step up, but we didn't expect Zach
No,
Carr to
not
be the
that
guy.
card.
But
Yeah,
pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
very.
Here's a
Yeah.
comment too from that Riley Sharp did great at tight end. Yeah, Riley Sharp
Yeah.
made the move from linebacker to tight end this offseason. And what do you think? I pegged him as like the next, like helping to run the Coletto package. Is that how you're seeing him?
I think there'll be a group of guys that kind of take the Coletto role. I think Sharp can. Isaiah Newell was running at fullback a bit. Hodgins was playing at fullback a lot the last, I think it was 2 weeks of practice. So super excited about what those three guys can bring. But Riley Sharp's a guy that's been in the program since I was in high school, 6-7 years now. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, there's guys like Jake Overman, Jack Vellion, like the proven options who are probably their two starters. But behind that, Bryce Caulfield, walk on. He impressed last year. He could see some time. So I think outside, and Jermaine Terry too, the Cal transfer. Outside of that, I could see Sharp getting some burn and 3 tight end packages for sure come fall.
I see Jermaine Terry, just his body type, as being more of a that big bodied receiver type tight end, with Overman being more of the blocking tight end. But no, it's going to be interesting. So after spring camp, who is your offensive MVP?
I'm going to give it to I'm going to give it to 2 younger kids, and they're both true freshmen. I'm going to give it to Aiden Childs and Zach Card. Okay. I mean, those two their connection from day one was, it was very obvious that they were connecting well. Card and Childs connected for touchdowns, and I think 3 of the first 4 practices. And I think they could be a connection that could do a lot of special things.
Yeah, it's, like I said, how often do you have true early enrollees as your offensive MVP? But it's hard to argue, because what we saw early and really consistently from Childs, not to say he didn't make mistakes or do things, but it was pretty impressive. Who is your, so I mean, it kind of, I guess, goes hand in hand, because I have, who is your way too early breakout star? You're going to go with one of those freshmen? You think Zach Card maybe, because he probably will get a little more play than Aiden?
This year, if it's in the long run, I would go Childs. But if it's just focused on the 2023 season, I would go Zach Card, just because I think he'll see a lot more playing time. At the moment, if he's healthy, I'm not expecting him to redshirt. So I would expect to see Card a lot, maybe even in the 4th receiver role, which as a true freshman would be really impressive. I don't think a true freshman receiver's played a lot since Uriah Beeson 2 or 3 years ago.
He reminds me a lot of Anthony Gould.
Yeah.
I mean, just the body type, his speed, everything. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of him. Okay, so this isn't on the rundown either. I'm gonna make you okay. I know my opinion here. We're at San Jose State, game 1. Who trots out as the number QB1?
Definitely DJ. I just don't think you bring in a quarterback of DJ's caliber to have him sit on the bench. The coaching staff knows what they have in Gulbranson, and they still went and sought an upgrade. And I think DJ, if he gets himself right, I think he's going to have a really special fall.
I'm right there with you. I think I've had this discussion with a few people who think Gulbranson should get the start. And I'm like, no. I mean, nothing against him. He did some good things, but he also has major limitations, and you don't have that with DJ. DJ brings that veteran leadership, and it also, then you're not throwing poor Aiden Childs to the Wolves immediately. Let him get some, experience under his belt, hopefully play in some games, and be ready to go come 2024. Okay, you ready to switch over to the defensive side of the ball?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to do the same thing. There's lots of questions, I think, heading into this defense, and I think initially the questions surrounded the secondary. When you lose Jaden Grant, you lose Alex Austin, Rajon Wright. Those are 3 key contributors. And I mean, with Jaden Grant, I think his biggest attribute was just his leadership. So what do you think, after watching, a month of spring camp, what is the strength of this defense?
I think the strength is the defensive line and outside linebackers. The defensive line, James Rawls, Sione Lolohea is an experienced guy who flashed towards the end of last year. Hodgins, Joe Golden, Takari Hickle, Samisi Saluni. And then on the outside backer spots, you got Chatfield, Corey Stover had a pretty good spring. John McCartan was out, but he's proven it's his 6th year in the program. Ryan Frankie's back, hopefully, come fall. I think he tore his ACL.
Was that spring, right? Was that last spring?
I
Frankie
think it was
out?
last
Summer?
I don't remember. I think it was a summer he tore his knee. Nico Taylor, the Wyoming transfer, and then Matthias Malachi Donaldson, too, is another name that has kind of flown under the radar. I think he could see some time as well. So I think the strength of this defense is going to be rushing the passer and stopping the run.
So the front seven is you named a lot of people, too, that you kind of forget about. But, gosh, Chatfield, I think, really started to come alive the last of this end of the season. And you named a lot of guys, definitely, that we should keep an eye on. Talk to me about the secondary. Big question marks, but what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I was feeling pretty confident, but then Skylar Thomas, who is a guy that I personally really like, I thought he was going to have a breakout season. He tore his ACL in practice, so he's done for the season. I think depth is a little bit of an issue right now. I think there are my 5 starters, Tyrese Ivey, a junior college kid at corner, Jaden Robinson, who's a 6th-year guy at the other corner spot, and then Ryan Cooper, Achille Arnold, and Katan Oladapu all kind of mixing it up with the safety spots. I think those 5 are solid. But behind that, it gets a little iffy. I wouldn't be shocked to see them go after a transfer portal guy. I do really like 2 of the young redshirt freshman corners they have. Joe Swen, 6'3" guy, kind of fits that Richard Sherman type mold. Believe he had 2 picks on Saturday, one off DJ, and then I don't recall who the other one was off of. And then Noble Thomas, who saw some playing time against Florida and I believe Arizona State. So I'm excited about what those guys can bring. But depth at the safety spot, who knows if Alton Julian gets back? That's a big question mark because if he's healthy, he brings that dynamic safety that I thought he was our best defensive back in 2021 before he got banged up. So
yeah, I agree. Another name that, I agree with Joe Swen because I thought the several practices I went to, and one of them was a live scrimmage that we went to on a Saturday. His number was called a lot, and one that's kind of been flying under the radar too. And I don't know if he's in that upper echelon quite yet, but he's close, along maybe with Noble Thomas, is Carlos Mack.
Carlos Mack, yeah.
He had some flashes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been running with the 3rd team at corner, but the spring game saw him run with the 2nd team at safety. So I think we could see him get some run there if Julian can't get back. So I definitely thought Carlos had a pretty good camp.
So where are your areas of concern for this defense?
Inside linebacker depth and secondary depth. I think the inside linebackers, they've got 3 proven guys right now, or 2 proven guys, John Miller, Easton Mascarenas. They should start. A guy that really impressed me was Micaiah Tongue. I thought he had a great camp. He looked natural playing backer, so I'm super excited about that. Outside of that, those 3, it gets a little questionable. Cord Shaw's redshirt freshman, haven't seen him in action. Mason Tafanga transferred from Utah, but he never played there, so we're a little interested to see what happens there. Melvin Jordan didn't play this spring. I know the coaching staff's high on him, so we could see him potentially work his way up to that 2nd spot. So those 2 spots, the inside backer and secondary depth, I would say are the 2 biggest concerns I have at the moment.
Okay, here's a comment because I just want to get I thought Micaiah Tongue totally impressed me for making a position move like that. Did he pass John Miller?
I don't think so yet, just because he's still relatively new to the position. I thought John Miller really had a pretty good spring as well. I could definitely see them running 3 inside backer sets. I remember that after Trent Bray became defensive coordinator in 2021, they did that with Robert Spates and Kyrie Fisher. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them start to do that some more with John Miller, Easton, and then Tongue. Yeah,
Easton's one, you can't sleep on him because last fall, I actually thought he was going to play over Kyrie, but Kyrie just took that next step. So that'll be exciting to
Yeah.
watch. But yeah, I really was just because I thought Machado had so much potential. We never really saw it at wide receiver. So to see him really, it looked natural to him.
Really
It really,
natural.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so same question as I asked with offense. Who is your defensive MVP for for spring camp?
Honestly, I would go with one of three guys from each spot.
Okay.
Defensive line, I would go to Kari Hickle. He really impressed me a lot. I think he earned a spot for sure. The linebacking core, I'm going to go with Micaiah Tongue, just a guy
Okay.
that caught my eye and flashed. And then defensive back room, I'm going to go with Tyrese Ivy as a guy that came into first practice, was running with the first team.
Did that surprise you? Because it seems like Oregon State has it's taken sometimes the junior college
Yeah.
DBs time to kind of
Mhm.
adjust to the system, but we did. He flashed day one.
Yeah. Yeah, like both of the Wright brothers, I believe, were backups their first year. But Tyrese came in his first practice running with the first team, and he held his own going up against guys like Silas Bolden, John Dunmore. I think he had a few passes broken up day one. So I do think he has earned a starting spot. It's a little early, but unless they bring another transfer corner in, I think he's got a spot.
Well, and Jaden Robinson too. I think it kind
Yeah.
of goes overlooked, but you talk to coaches and they were super impressed with Jaden. They said he might have been the best DB on the field like the last 3 or 4 games of the season.
Yeah.
So definitely one to watch there.
Mhm.
Okay, so who is your way too early breakout star for this year on defense?
Easton Mascarenas. A guy that I thought as well he could have started last year. His freshman year, he showed a lot of promise. I remember he played in the game against Idaho. It was his first or second game, and he played really well. I think he's a guy that's going to contend for all conference, whether it's first team or second team. I think he's going to put up this season to get there.
So I'm going to ask you a question. This is, again, I'm going off script here. Another name that we've heard, but we haven't. I agree with you with Easton Mascarenas, but what about Achille Arnold?
Yeah, I wasn't sure where he would really fit in. The corner spots looked like they were Robinson and Ivy. The safeties looked like Thomas and Katano Ladapu. The nickelbacks, was Ryan Cooper, but with Skylar Thomas's unfortunate knee injury, I think that opens the door for Achille to play. And I think there won't be too much of a drop off. I think he's a really proven player. I mean, he's played since his freshman year, which was 2019. Now he's entering his 5th year on campus, I think, and it's really going to be his first time as a full-time starter. So I'm super excited to see what that'll bring.
So we're going to take a quick break here. I just want to remind our listeners the benefits of joining Beaver Blitz. Not only do you get all of the great content that we provide every day, you also get to go behind the paywall, read the JP's weekly walk-off, read all of the recruiting articles, and also get access to the lodge. And that is where all the in-depth discussion and action takes place. That is where Jake was posting his lodge notebook. That is where some really good information gets posted. You can join now for $1 for your first month. Okay, so now we go football off season, Jake. What's next? So I know our fans are kind of like, okay, what if I join Beaver Blitz, what am I getting? It gets really crazy, actually. It gets really, really crazy with recruiting. And I know Jake loves recruiting. He's helping me follow it. So not only do you get Brandon Huffman, Greg Biggins, Blair Angulo, the national team, you get the insight that we can provide as well. We go into evaluation mode. So I think Jake knows that the coaches will be hitting the road here soon, probably in the next week, going around to evaluate players on their home turf. And then we get into official visits. June is already shaping up to be a very big official visit weekend. We have a couple lists for the very first weekend of June is going to be big. Take the next week off, and then because of graduation, and then the following week will be a very busy week as well. So, Jake, what are you hoping these official visits will do? I mean, do you see this? Are you hoping to see this is going to be a big official visit / commitment time for Oregon State?
Yeah, I definitely think it will. I mean, if you look at the coaching staff's recruiting tendencies in years past, the last 2 seasons, they tend to get the majority of their class committed before the end of June. So I would expect a lot of these guys that come on campus. I would expect most from the ones that commit to Oregon State. I would expect it to happen sooner rather than later.
So you've actually caught up with a couple guys who have been,
Mhm.
throughout the some of the junior weekend. Who are you excited about? Like, who do you feel could be big time ones to watch for our fans that maybe don't follow recruiting as closely as the rest of us?
Yeah, two guys that are taking official visits relatively soon is David Washington. He's a 4-star receiver from Las Vegas. I caught up with him after the spring game, and he's coming back for an official visit in May. He really bonded with Childs. They had a great connection. I'm liking our chances there. I know he's looking at Utah and UCLA as well, so it's going to be a tough one, but I'm hoping Oregon State can pull that one out. Brandon Tollis, running back from Texas, and Texas running backs have been kind to Oregon State. Jaquiz Rogers, Storm Woods, Damian. I'm really hopeful that Brandon Tollis can be a guy that once they get on campus for an official, they can seal the deal on.
We saw him. He was here for that one scrimmage
Mhm.
that we saw in March.
Yep.
Great frame, and I love
Yeah.
his film. I've spoken with him too. Great young man. Another one, Brinson is one I'm watching.
Brinson, yeah, a 3-star DB from
Florida.
Florida. He's got a pretty solid offer list. Wisconsin, Central Florida was another one. I think Oregon State's in a good spot for him. I think he's coming. I believe you told me the 3rd weekend in June.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he'll be the second group
The
coming
second
through.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead because I was going to switch to something else here.
I'm hopeful Oregon State can close the deal on Brinson as well.
I agree with you. I think this is going to be this summer. I mean, right now they're sitting with one commit with Wyatt Hook.
Mhm.
I foresee June, July being a super, super busy
Yeah.
month for commitments because I have a feeling that we will start fall camp in August. I'm going to say there will be 7 to 10 commitments by that point. That's my guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see 10 in the next month and a half alone.
Yeah. So, and here's a good point. Nick Folker on our chat, Childs is going to be big in helping to recruit some wide receivers because
Definitely.
when they see him, it's
Yeah.
going to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you're seeing that with guys like David Washington already, and Childs hasn't even played a snap yet, I think once they see what he can do, once the recruits come and they watch practice and just see the way Childs throws the ball, I think that could really change the game.
Are you blown away a little bit about just the culture? I was on a walk with a friend today. We were talking, baseball at the time, but the culture of this football team.
Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive. I kind of compare it to Utah a little almost, just like the way where they don't get as much national attention, but they just constantly put down their head, just grind constantly to try and achieve a Pac-12 championship.
And what's got me too is, I mean, Oregon State right now is roughly about 5 over for scholarships come fall. Guys aren't leaving. I mean, even guys that you look at the depth chart and you're like, oh, that guy will probably leave. They're not.
They're still sticking it out.
They're sticking it out. So where do you want to see growth this summer? Kind of as this team moves forward, where do you want to see growth?
The wide receiver room. I would also like to see the quarterbacks kind of get in touch with the receivers a little more. There were a few instances of miscommunication between guys. Obviously, that'll happen if you have if you're having new quarterback coming from a different system, different receivers. It's bound to happen. So I'm really hopeful this summer, like during their player workouts, they'll start to hammer those down.
Yeah, that's going to be a big point, I think, for this offseason is just getting those quarterbacks, the receivers, the tight ends out, working, running routes, and really kind of creating that chemistry that they're going to need to move forward. Because I think that was really, like you said, that was one of the big, not disappointments, but because guys are new, but just they were lacking the kind of being on the same page. What areas, where would you like to see Oregon State address in the transfer portal this offseason?
Yeah, I've got 3-4 potentially that come to mind. Receiver, cornerbacks, and depth and safety depth is another one, and then inside linebacker as well. The kicking game may need another upgrade. No kicker really separated themselves, which is not what you want to see after last year's debacle. So we'll see what happens. I know they're going after a receiver, but I wouldn't mind to see them go after secondary and linebacker depth as well.
Yeah, you're right on. That's what they're going after. At one point, they were looking at some D tackles, but I think that's kind of shored itself up. And so now the main issue of concern is depth in the secondary, middle linebacker, and then the wide receiver room. Anything else you want to talk about football before we move on?
One thing I see in the chat is Connor Johnson said, should we offer Jalen Sami? Jalen Sami was defensive tackle from Colorado. I mean, you can never really have too many healthy Division I caliber linemen. So if he's interested, I say you bring him on, but I don't think it's really a position of need like it was 2 to 3 months ago.
How about there's another one in the chat? Sorry, Clint Moses wants to know just a little bit about Kelsey Howard. What you see from Kelsey?
Kelsey was running with the third team primarily. You really don't see a lot of freshman defensive linemen come in and make an impact from day one. I think expectations might be a little high just because, I mean, if you've got a 4-star kid, he's bound to get hype. But I do think he'll play in a few games, keep his red shirt. He does a great job knocking down passes. That really caught my eye. I remember he got Gilbranson and Childs both a couple times.
Just a matter of learning the system and kind of growing into it. And then Connor Johnson asked about Quincy Wright. That was a discussion in the lodge as well.
Quincy's another guy that's been running with the third team. Took a redshirt year. I think he added 10, 15 pounds. I wouldn't be shocked to see him push guys like Samisi Saluni or Joe Golden, Hodgins to start to get some reps in.
We'll just since there's lots of questions popping up. Alton Julian, we have seen him. He's not ready to practice yet, but it's not like he's not with the program.
Yep.
So don't worry about Alton. I believe he had his ACL injury and then he had a scope, I believe, the end of kind of mid last season to kind of clean some stuff up. So he should be, all indications are he's going to be ready to go. And MMD, we already kind of talked about Matthias Donaldson, but
Matthias has been running with the threes. I do think he'll see some time last year just because Coach Bray tends to rotate the outside backers in a decent amount. Wouldn't be shocked to see him get some burn in some games for sure.
Yeah, they rotate a lot, even in practice. It's like a mad, and I love trying to. You did a great job, especially year one, but trying to write down all the numbers, and then people are like, "Well, I thought so and so was," and you're like, "Okay, but I just had a snapshot of who we got." Okay, should we talk a little bit about baseball?
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to
Always
baseball.
love talking baseball.
What position did you play in baseball?
Growing up, I played shortstop and center field. I stopped playing in like freshman year though.
Okay. My son right now is playing. He always played second, and now they have him playing a little short. So it's been fun to watch that grow. Okay, ASU. After kind of having this up and down rocky start, Oregon State kind of strung together some pretty good wins. They go down to ASU, take game 1, and then lose game 2 and 3 before going ahead and knocking off Grand Canyon yesterday. What are you seeing from baseball? Is it just young? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I really do think this team is young and a little inexperienced. If you look at their Pac-12 road series, Stanford swept, Arizona State lost 2 out of 3, Washington series win. I think the bullpen has been fantastic. They just have they had a difficult time this week. They were second in the country in ERA, but then the Sun Devils got hot.
They got really hot.
I'm hoping it was a fluke, and getting back to Goss will calm them down a little bit. And is it
Arizona this week, right?
Yes.
Big series. Great weather.
Yeah.
Great weather. Big series down at Goss. It's an interesting thing. Do you have concerns, or do you think like the pitching issues? Like I said, they were second in ERA, kind of went off the rails this weekend. Do you just think that is youth maybe talking?
Yeah, if you look at their bullpen, they've got freshmen, sophomore guys throwing consistently. Hutchinson was a true freshman. He's really impressed. Got a little roughed up this weekend. Same with Jimenez. Keljo is another freshman that pitches. I do think the inexperience is a little bit of a factor in that. A younger guy going to go pitch on the road, against a team with the offensive caliber of the Sun Devils is always tough.
Yeah. It's Beaver fans, I think, get a little spoiled in what they're. But
the expectations.
Carter and I remember before the season started had a major discussion just that this was going to be a rebuilding year, and but they've actually surprised me in a couple of the series.
Yeah, I think they've exceeded my expectations so far. I really wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, if guys like Jacob Melton are gone, Justin Boyd, Wade Meckler, it's going to be tough to replace those guys. But I think the offense has done a good job getting better throughout this season. I mean, if you look at their Pac-12 stats a month ago, it was not great. Yeah. But guys have impressed and improved. Guerra's been hot. Kyle Durnetti's a guy that's taking a lot of flack from the fan base, but he's on an 8-game hit streak, and his batting average is up to 255 when I believe it was like 170 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm hoping the trip to the desert got the bats right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, poor Dernetti has taken a lot of abuse from Beaver fans. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you think this is mid-season form here? Do you think this team makes the top 64? Yeah,
I think they'll push for a 2 seed at a regional. I'm not expecting them to host at the moment. I don't think they can improve their RPI enough right now. Coming off a season like last year, losing the guys you lost, I'm pretty content with the 2 seed, and I think if this team gets hot, they could contend for a super regional spot.
Super. Okay, I was going to ask you that. Connor Johnson wants to know, is Jaron Hunter hurt?
Yeah, Jaron experienced some elbow tightness about a month ago now. They held him out of 2 starts, I believe, and then he retweaked it Sunday against USC, and I don't have an update from my connection on the squad, but I would assume you won't be seeing him for a while.
Elbow tightness. You never want to hear that.
Never a good thing.
Never a good thing. Okay. Do you want to play a little Guess the Beeve?
Definitely.
Okay. Jake asked for this. This was like a Carter thing, and Jake asked for it. So the rules of the game, for those of you guys that are new, is we're keeping this football players from 2000 to now. So we're not going to, not trying to get super obscure. I'm just going to keep track. He gets to ask yes or no questions. That's all he gets to ask until he can guess the right player. And I'm going to keep tally marks, and we're going to see kind of over time who gets the best record. Because next week or next podcast, he has to quiz me. Try to stump me. Not too difficult to do, actually. Okay. Let's go. Go ahead and start it when you're ready.
Did he play under Mike Riley?
Yes.
Okay. Was he on the offensive side of the ball?
No.
Did he play in the NFL?
Hang on. Let me look. I don't think so, but I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Hang on. Oh, he did. Yes.
Okay. Pre-2010?
Yes.
Is it Derek Doggett?
No.
Sally Piscatelli?
No.
Did he play in the secondary?
Yes.
Is it Al Afalava?
No.
Keenan Lewis?
No.
Brandon Hughes?
No.
Oh, man. Was it Brandon Harden?
No.
Secondary player?
Nobody's even trying to help you out here in the chat.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Those guys. Let me think. Wow. Secondary NFL. I might be stumped.
Wow, we're gonna stump Jake day one. Wow. Mr. I know
the
entire roster.
I know. Did he play or did he graduate before 2008?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's not Dennis Weathersby, is it?
No.
Okay.
Man, you are going way back. That's what Connor
Yeah,
Johnson just says, wow, you know your history.
Yeah, I'm
He
trying
is
to
a
think
born and
who
raised
basketball
Beaver fan,
I
you
was-
guys.
Yeah.
His grandpa is Beaver Blitz now, and grandpa's a Beaver. His parents are Beavers. Okay, you're at 13 guesses.
Man. Was he a corner?
No.
Safety. I see Jake Cookus. Did Jake Cookus play in the NFL? I don't think he did.
Is that a guess for you?
Yeah, is it Jake Cookus?
No.
Oh. Safety.
You're missing a very obvious one.
I know.
So are all of our fans.
Oh, is it Jordan Poyer?
No.
Oh.
But this person does have a
Reynolds-
banner, or he did have a banner outside of Reeser.
A safety. Sepiscatelli, Afalava.
Two-time All-American.
2000.
I'm giving you hints and everything.
I know. Not Poyer. I'm trying to think of safeties. I know. As soon as you say it, I'm gonna know who it is.
Exactly. Wait, let's see. I think I have music. I could be playing background music here. What's this? It's called Feeding the Ducks.
Can I get a hint of what professional team he played for?
Dolphins, Chargers.
Dolphins and Chargers. Okay. Man.
Nathan Kerr. Wheaton. No. Marcus Wheaton was a wide receiver. No, that is wrong.
Dolphins and Chargers.
We're talking safeties.
This is not a good impression I'm making, man. Mitch Musin?
Yes. There you go.
There we go.
Mitch Musin.
Took me a
17.
while.
Okay. You kicking yourself, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't think of that one earlier. Wow.
That
was a good one. That was a good one.
I didn't think it would be that hard, but it gets hard when you're starting to guess.
Yeah,
right?
it gets hard when you're trying to think about it.
Pretty good. Well, Jake, I just have to thank you. Your first damn podcast went totally great. I hope our fans had fun with, a little bit of change up. I'm going from the Jake role to the Carter role. So bear with me as I learn to host a little more. And Jake, we're excited that you are part of Team Beaver Blitz now.
Thank you for having me.
Lots of fun things in store. And so excited. Preview the week ahead. What do we got planned for Beaver Blitz this week?
We've got a depth chart articles coming out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Offense Wednesday, defense Thursday, special teams Friday. Series HQ for Arizona coming out on Friday for that series. And then I'm reaching out to a College of San Mateo junior college kid, Jair Smith, who picked up an offer. So hopefully get that up and running soon.
And then we'll also be JP's weekly walk-off comes on Friday. Yeah. And then next week, I'm hoping that we do maybe some recaps, kind of like our top 5, do some rundowns from spring camp, because it's all football all the time, even with baseball going. I'm Angie Machado. He is Jake Hedberg. You can follow him on Twitter. Make sure to give him a follow at Hedberg Jake. Make sure to give me a follow at Angie Machado 1. And we will be back. I don't know if we'll be back next week. It might be every 2 weeks from now on. And we'll be back with another episode of the Damn Podcast.
Definitely.